Hey everyone, Kevin Grayton with Shooting Illustrated. Today on Shooting Illustrated interviews, we've got one of the originators of the concept, the whole idea of the defensive pistol, especially in the 1911. You see, a lot of those ideas start with Bill Wilson. The Bill Wilson magazines really transformed the 1911 into something that might work, into something that usually worked. There was a big, thing for both the shooting sports and for the idea of the 1911 as a pistol. But Wilson Combat just hasn't stopped there. They've really moved into a whole bunch of different areas. They have terrific double stack single action pistols, the EDCX9, the SFT. They work with frames for a bunch of different guns. They have some great long guns as well. Took one of their AR-15s to a class in 224 Valkyrie. And I tell you what, when you use an AR-15 to ping a piece of steel at 1,400 yards, it's a good feeling. So, Bill, welcome. Thank you very much. Thanks for joining us.
Thank you.
The people don't understand when we're marinating in this whole gun culture that we have right now, just what it was like when Jeff Cooper came up with the idea of, hey, we should talk about the 1911 as a defensive pistol. Where were, when that first started coming along, when American Pistol Institute / Gunsight was first founded, what was it like shooting a 1911?
Well, actually, I didn't shoot a 1911 initially when I started shooting IPSC. That was something that it became obvious that if you want to win, you have to shoot a 1911. I actually shot my very first IPSC match back in September of '76 with a Colt Python,
Well,
and
the original Colt Python.
yeah,
That's awesome.
then the second one with a Browning High Power, and by then it was the light bulb come on. Well, if you're not shooting something that gets major power factor scoring, you're not going to win. And so
Right.
I had a 1911 45 by the third match, and it's kind of went from there.
Yeah. Now, gunsmithing wasn't your first trade. When you were shooting that, what were you what's your background in all of this?
Well, I grew up in a jewelry watchmaking environment. My folks ran a jewelry store for 53 years, and Dad wanted me to be a watchmaker and jewelry maker and all that. And so, I went to watchmaking school to kind of appease him, and but I just couldn't stay interested in that since my whole passion was about guns and hunting. And
Right.
so I wasn't a watchmaker very long.
But you've got that background in precision and performance. A watch that doesn't keep track of time or breaks down isn't that useful of a watch, so when you looked at the 1911 and you looked how it performed, and then you said, okay, what can we do to help this? Where did that go?
Well, I mean, the first thing was, wow, these parts are really big compared to the ones I'm used to working on.
There's your springs like that. Wow, that's really cool.
Yeah, so that was the first thing, but obviously, you have to, in addition to having some hand skills and things like that that's necessary, you have to have some knowledge of what to do. And I was very fortunate. I mean, early on, I forged a friendship with Jim Clark Sr. and with Armand Swenson, and,
Yeah.
and those guys were just a phone call away, and both of them. I mean, no matter what kind of a stupid question I would ask them, they were always willing to share their knowledge, and I just couldn't give enough credit to those two gentlemen. They not only were they pioneers in custom 1911s, but they were just genuinely super people.
Yeah. I never met Senior, but I did meet Junior. Yeah, they see they're absolute legends. The Jim Clark custom gun these days, if you can find one at auction, goes for a large amount of money.
Yeah.
So that happened, and then we started to see a lot of different things enter into the combat pistol world that started to cross over. in between, the defensive pistol world, because they both, started with Jeff Cooper, and the same person who started Gunsight to teach you how to use a defensive pistol also started the International Practical Shooting Confederation, or IPSC, and taught you how to game with the pistol. Now the background of that, I think, is interesting. And here's a man with a foot in both worlds.
Yeah, yeah, and I worked with Jeff early on. I mean, as he was originally, getting, IPSC off the ground, I was one of the first section coordinators for the Midwest area. Worked with him on that sort of stuff, and then, later on as it morphed into USPSA, I was on the board of directors for I think 5 different terms or something like that, a long time anyway.
Right, right. How did the sport change, over the years? Because I see some pictures, and there was some, hanging off of walls, and I've shot a match with the Cooper Tunnel once, but over the years you saw it kind of morph and change.
We did a lot of really dangerous stuff in the early years, you know, climbing and
Yeah,
jumping off the walls with loaded guns, and as you say, the Cooper Tunnel, and a lot of running and hanging off of ropes and different things as you were shooting. So stuff that liability wise, I don't think any
yeah,
match director would sign off on these days.
yeah.
But
That might
it's
be a hard sell.
yeah.
What did you see as far as the firearms evolving? How did they change over the years?
Um, Basically, it went from at the start, it was mostly as long as you had good sights, decent trigger, the gun worked every time. You're in pretty good shape. But it's just like with any other sport. I don't think it matters what the sport is. The competitor always thinks, well, if I had a better tool, I'd be a better this or that. If I had a better club, I'd be a better golfer. If I had a better gun,
Right.
I'd be a better shooter. You know, that's and when in fact, buying more ammo and spending more range time will get you there a lot faster than a fancier gun.
Yeah, it's interesting. I know, you're also involved in, the formation of IDPA, the more, defensive oriented um, organization, that started up later on. And it's interesting to me that the difference in time needed to make, between, say, master and sharpshooter, and the difference in time between a sharpshooter in shooting a 1911 and a sharpshooter shooting a red dot Glock. The difference in time to get better at shooting is like this. The difference in time between those two different guns is like that. It really shows you the difference, just how much gear the little difference gear actually makes. The fact of the matter is, if you hand Rob Latham, or Julie Golub, who we both talked to previously, if you hand them a production gun, you hand me an open gun, they're going to beat me. There's nothing I can do about that. So now, with your specific stuff that you contributed to this, when I got my first 1911, I said, okay, I want to get a 1911. They said, okay, get this version. I said, okay, great. Now, what do I do for magazines? And to a person, everybody said Bill Wilson magazines. It was just, it's kind of like you get it. You do. Or Chip McCormick's, which I know you're involved with as well. What was the background and the history of that? How did you see those magazines really being what they are today?
Well, back when we started that project, there wasn't any good 1911 mags on the market. The factory GI or the factory Colt mags were pretty suspect, and the feed lips, broke, relatively quick. The only quote custom magazines on the market was made by a company called Leica, and their magazines fed well, but they were made out of the wrong kind of stainless, and the weld was on the corner of the magazine instead of in the center of the back spine where it should be, and they broke even faster than the Colt mags did. So the door was wide open for somebody to make a high quality 1911 magazine, and we just took advantage of that opportunity, and worked with my buddy Bill Rogers. He basically developed the follower and the base plate, and I worked on the tube and the spring project, part of the project.
Yeah, yeah. Now, Bill Rogers is one of those names that maybe doesn't get mentioned as much as it should. Talk a little bit about him, because I think the Rogers Shooting School is one of those places that a lot of people don't know about. But it's really one. If it's not the toughest shooting school in the nation, it's darn close.
Oh yeah, yeah. It's he does a great job at the school, but you know, Bill and I've been friends since we met. We met at the Midwest Championship in '78. That's how far back we go.
Wow.
And you know, he is just a brilliant, you know, designer. I mean, he's invented so many cool products. You know, not just in the firearms industry, but in the fishing industry and aviation, and you know, he's just a really sharp guy.
Hmm.
And you know, we worked well together because I'm kind of a detail guy, and I consider myself really good at seeing a product and how it can be improved. And so Bill was the initial concept guy and get it up to a certain level, and I could kind of perfect it. And we worked really good together on several projects that way. And then you know, but Bill's one of his passions is shooting and training people to be a better shooter, and you know that school is his passion, even though he's you know probably better as an inventor than he at the school
Yeah,
thing. You know,
yeah.
I mean, so many of the cutting edge products that Safariland brought to market, those are all Bill's designs. So I mean, you
Really?
yeah,
Yeah.
he is a really sharp guy.
Yeah, the Safariland holsters are an absolute legend. They're the ones. Okay, well, I need a duty holster. Get a Safariland. You know.
Yeah.
Um, so now one thing you guys, you started off with the 1911. You started creating custom, or did you start off with the 1911? I guess that's something I've been assuming. You moved from magazine. Where did the magazines go from after? Where'd you go after the magazines? I guess is my question.
Um, I'd say that the next big step of evolution was when we started making complete 1911s, not just working on customer supplied guns.
Mhm.
You know, we have several real successful accessories in addition to the magazines, um, but you know, like I say, the next big step is when we went from being just a custom shop where you send your Colt or Springfield or whatever in and we work on it, as opposed to us building a complete 1911 handgun.
Okay, and then yeah, and then from there you've branched out into a whole bunch of different things. I recently reviewed one of your AR-15s, and it's just a heck of a gun. And you've got a whole wide variety of firearms. The whole rifle. You want a Bill Wilson rifle, pistol, or shotgun? The answer is yes. Where the background on that? You saw some room for improvement, or
Well, this current environment that we've got right now in the gun industry, you know, where things are really slow and sales of black rifles is really slow. I mean, companies that only make black rifles, like for example, Wyndham, that closed their doors yesterday.
yeah,
Uh, you know, they're in a world of hurt right now, and so several years ago, I saw the writing on the wall: if you don't want to be just a 1911 shop. You know, you want to have diversification. So if this product line slows down, something else is surely going to be strong. And that's why we've tried to diversify, you know, from different types of handguns into shotguns and then into rifles. And now, you know, now we're doing the Nula bolt rifles
yeah,
and,
yeah,
and
yeah.
the ammo and the bullets. And, you know, we're trying to be diversified within the firearms industry to the point where you know something's going to stick to the wall when you throw it. You know,
Yeah,
at any given point, you know, everything can't be slow all at once. You know.
yeah, yeah. Now the Nula, that's a brand new one that just came out. I saw the press release, I think last week or this week. Talk to me a little bit about that rifle. The precision rifle is really hot. It still is, and I'm honestly a little bit surprised by how hot it is. The force behind it still kept going. And this isn't necessarily a precision rifle for competition that you've built, but it is lightweight, and it seems to take a lot of heritage from maybe some of Cooper's scout rifle concepts. Am I wrong in that?
Well, I mean, we're in a situation where Melvin Forbes uh, was basically, introduced to me from a mutual friend, Richard Mann, who writes for
Sure.
Shooting
Yep.
Magazine.
Our ammo
And
editor. Yep.
and basically Richard said, Melvin's health's failing. He's not going to be able to work any longer, and he'd really like, the legacy of his rifle to drive on. And but he doesn't want to just give it to anybody because the failed situation in the back. He sold it to Colton. They screwed it up, and then he sold it to another company, and they screwed it up. And so that's why it's the new ultralight arms, not ultralight arms like it originally was. And so he wanted to make sure this time that the rifle that he put so much of his life into, that it was able to continue on and be as good or better than what he built. And
Right.
so, Joyce and I flew out and visited with him and his wonderful wife Patty, and we hit it off immediately, and in one day we were able to strike a deal, and so we ended up acquiring the Nula project from Melvin, and we've stayed pretty faithful to his original rifle design. The basics are all still there, but we've improved it in a few areas, both with our manufacturing expertise and just a few minor design changes that we feel like improve the rifle.
Now, what makes the Nula and the Melvin Forbes rifle, the attractive thing it is? I know it's very lightweight. It's an ultralight rifle. And now are you using carbon fiber on the barrels, or is it just?
No, it's just a lightweight stainless barrel.
So you've got it down to 5 pounds without using carbon fiber?
Yes.
Or under 5 pounds?
Yeah.
That
Depending on the caliber and the barrel length, the lightest one is just under 5 pounds, and I think the heaviest one's 5 pounds 4 ounces or something like that of the models we have.
That's really something. Yeah. That is quite the achievement to do that without, I wouldn't say going cheating, but it's, like once you add a carbon fiber barrel in there, like there's really no reason to have a heavy gun. I'm sorry, there's just not. As far as the handgun stuff goes, I remember a few years ago, you guys came out with the EDCX9, and I looked at that and I'm going, okay, yeah, that's nice. Didn't think much of it. And then I got a chance to review one, and I went, oh, okay, now I get it. Now I understand that. What was your going in a little bit different direction, going in a double stack direction for you guys? That's a little bit different for that.
Well, we had a lot of demand for higher capacity gun, and the last thing in the world I ever wanted to do was to get on that 2011 train, because I still, to this day, consider that a flawed design. The guns have historically been very finicky as far as, getting them to work, to get the magazines right and stuff like that. So I knew I didn't want to go that route. And so I've got a good engineering team, and, we just sat down and put our heads together and said, let's just start with a blank sheet of paper, and let's build a really, really nice handgun. And took us almost 2 years, but and tons and tons of testing. And when we finally got the thing ready for market, I was extremely happy with the product, and I'm really hard to please. So
yeah, it is an amazing, so when somebody walks in there and says, okay, I've got the EDCX9, if they've not known, there are some names you look at and going, oh, okay, yeah. I mean, you want to buy a Mercedes because you understand what a Mercedes is, what you're buying there. You're not just buying a badge, you're buying a certain level of, what's the word I'm looking for? Meticulous attention to detail.
Mm-hmm.
Stuff that other manufacturers might let slip. They're going, no. Another example would be like in the camera world, Or okay, in the watch world, there's plenty of places like that where you go, the reason why you buy that watch isn't necessarily because it's a fashion brand, but because you know it's built like a tank and it will keep time till the heat death of the universe, you know. Um, how does Wilson Combat really how does your company really build that same sort of thing into your guns? Because a lot of people say, okay, why should I get the Wilson Combat?
Well, the current Wilson Combat, we've a lot of people don't realize we're not a quote custom gun shop anymore. We're actually a custom firearms manufacturing company now.
I can't send my 1911 off to you and have you give it all the
we still do that. We're
okay.
not going to stop what brought us to the dance, but instead of having to outsource so much stuff like we did years ago, now we've brought almost all that manufacturing in, and so we have control over the components, and therefore we can build a much higher quality gun, you know, because of the tolerances that we are able to hold on the components, and that's that much less hand fitting if you make high quality parts to start out with, you know, and excuse me, and the fact that you know we have a really good QC department. I mean, you know we try to make sure we don't do anything sub quality, and we were fortunate, you know, back in during the scamdemic there, you know, when all the panic buying was going on, you know, we made a lot of money during that period of time, and instead of, you know, frivolously pissing it away, we put it into new machines, and we really enhanced our ability to manufacture quality product.
Yeah. You know, a lot of people don't understand that in a lot of guns, it may say assembled in the United States or something like that, but there is a whole ecosystem of manufacturers out there who make components for other manufacturers who then put those components together. So yes, in theory, the tolerances are going to be all the same because but in reality, you've got a factory in one part of the country that's making that part, and a factory in another part of the country that's making that part, and a factory in even yet another part of the country that's making that part, and you put it together with the parts you build in-house. And the idea is that they'll all come together and be the same. And the reality of it is quite often different. You know,
Yeah.
yeah, that's absolutely true.
Well, in our case on the handguns, I mean, every component that goes into a Wilson Combat handgun, with the exception of the magazine for the X9 series guns, which is made by Metgar out of Italy, which, you know, is
they're
top.
the best. Yeah.
Everything else is made in the United States of America. I mean, every other component, you know, is made in the USA.
Yeah, people, you know, people trash Metgar, and I'm like, you don't understand. If you could do a analysis of the paint on the magazine on your gun, chances are you'd find out it came from Italy. You know, it's just they make a lot of magazines for a lot of different firearms manufacturers, and people don't know. They're like, oh, well, before you trash them, be careful. Um, a lot, you know, one of the things I like about the about your stuff is you're not willing to just say, yes, we make two flavors of AR-15. We make them in 223, and we make an AR-10 in 308. You know, you guys are willing to look at calibers and going, well, there's some interesting stuff going on there. You know, I did a review last year of one of your AR-15s and 224 Valkyrie. And like I said, that's the most accurate AR-15 I've ever shot. That was an amazing firearm, you know, and sitting down there with what looked, acted, and felt like an AR-15, but is pinging, you know, steel at 1,400 yards away. You're going, okay, all right, this is a good gun. Why you know, I want to say the passion for other calibers? I think that's an interesting part of your business.
Well, it's a little bit like what I mentioned about diversifying with the different types of product. You know, it's like right now, like I mentioned, the black rifle stuff's pretty slow right now, and it's, you know, it's primarily really slow if it's in a 5.56 or a 300 blackout, and the gun's black. But we're still seeing some demand for all the other calibers with the custom finishes and things like that. Where, you know, a customer has us to build their dream gun, you know, there still is demand for that when there isn't demand for just a plain old black 5.56. And so that's another reason that, you know, besides my passion for wanting to try all these different calibers and everything, it's another diversification, you know, that if this isn't selling, maybe that's selling.
Right, right. You know, you've seen a lot of what's happened. You know, where's Wilson Combat going in the future? I'm not, you know, obviously there's stuff you're going to show for, you know, in January and shot and stuff like that, and you've got stuff like, but you know, where do you guys see yourselves, you know, like say 5 years from now?
Well, we're well along on a totally new handgun platform right now that you'll see sometime next year.
Oh,
So that's you know, in the short term, that's something, you know, coming up, and we're still building on the X9 platform. There's
mhm.
still room to grow that particular product line, and
Yeah.
you know, we're working on versions of it that appeal to some of the younger shooters, like the
Mhm.
2.0s, as you say. Um, and you know, of course, my passion, you know, more than anything else, is hunting, and so we
As we can
intend to
tell by
grow
that back by that wall behind you there, that's really impressive.
uh, we uh, we intend to grow the Nula line, and we have another bolt rifle that we're testing, another totally different design that will, you know, it will have the carbon fiber barrel, as you mentioned, and
Yeah.
things like that. So, um, you know, just continue to grow the products that we have in the product line now, and who knows, we may, you know, we may get into something else before it's over. You know,
Yeah.
I'd like to have in-house injection molding capacity sometime. You know, that'd be
Yeah.
a place to expand there.
Yeah. There's you know, it's interesting to see the demand, you know, and the tastes change. I mean, I've not been in it for as long as you have and stuff like that. But even the short time I've been in it, you know, just watch how your AR-15 had to be set up a certain way, and now it has to be set up this way in order for you to be cool. And the Scout rifle went from, okay, here's this little niche product to one of the most popular guns out there. And let's not even talk about precision rifle. You know, precision rifle went from a small, uh, it wasn't even a sport, you
Mm.
know, to something that's really has been driving the industry for the last 5 years, which I thought was incredible. So it's always been, you know, interesting to watch. And I think, you know, one of the hallmarks is, like you say, you guys have been able to be agile enough to, you know, keep up with all the stuff going on. Bill, I want to thank you. I know you're a busy man. You've got, like I said, great products, and just if you haven't shot a Wilson Combat gun, you don't know what you're missing. You know, if little things like accuracy and reliability matter to you, those are the guns you want to shoot. So thanks again, Bill. Appreciate it.
Thank you.
All right. Hey, and thanks for watching, guys. Hey, for more videos like this, be sure to like and subscribe to this channel. Be sure to visit shootingillustrated.com because we do a lot of videos like this, and we don't want you to miss one.